We've got one guy in charge of the Senate, and basically he's become dictator of the Senate. He's going to bend and break the rules until he gets his way, but he also is not going to let any amendments come from the minority. So we have a really tight ship up here.
All right, there's Senator Rand Paul on CNN yesterday talking about Harry Reid and becoming the dictator of the Senate. Welcome back. Steve Malzberg's show, and joining us right now is our friend Stephen Moore of the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Steve. Great to be with you.
Well, it's great to have you. All right, so a lot of speculation on, Mitch McConnell took to the floor after this vote doing away with the filibuster for judicial nominees and other nominees and said you're going to regret it, and maybe sooner than you think. What ramifications do you see, if any, that this change of procedure, this change of rules in the Senate would have for the economy?
Well, let's step back a minute, Steve, because this is such a critically important move. I thought this was one of the most shameless power grabs I've seen in Washington in 25 years. And I know a lot of people kind of their eyes may glaze over about some of these Senate rules, but this is such an important one. And it goes to really the essence of what our system of representative democracy is about. It's about, as you know, Steve, the protection of the rights of the minorities. We are not a majority rules country. The ingeniousness of our Constitution is that it protects the rights of minorities, right? And just because you have 4 votes and I have 3 doesn't mean you can run roughshod over me. And yet that is what has happened here, where, in fact, Steve, you can tell I've got smoke coming out of my ears here because I'm so angry about this.
Yep.
This is something that basically says that the Democrats, we have more votes than you do, so we can just do whatever we want to. We can run roughshod over 100 years of tradition in the Senate. And you asked me what ramifications this is going to have on the economy. And the answer to that, Steve, is number one, now you're going to get these left-wing judges that are going to be packed into the courts, right? And a lot of these major decisions that do affect the economy with respect to environmental regulations, tax laws, Obamacare, these are now going to be adjudicated by left-wing Obama judges. Now, you and I know which way they're going to rule on these things. And second of all, when you talk about these regulatory agencies that are now going to be stacked with liberal left-wing pro-regulation Obama appointees with 51 votes in the Senate, that could do serious damage to our economy over the next 3 years.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, I think Mel Watt, the Democrat from North Carolina, he'll be now to be able to be confirmed to FHFA.
And he's the guy who gave us one of the guys who gave us the housing crisis.
Absolutely.
Talk about putting the wolf in charge of the sheep house.
It is. It's insanity. And when you hear, I just played before you came on, Steve, I played sound bites of Joe Biden in 2005 saying you can't change the rules you can't break the rules to change the rules, and Harry Reid lamenting how great the filibuster is in 2005, even saying that it holds up judicial nominees. He was happy about that. And now these two guys led the charge to just do exactly the opposite.
And, Steve, let me say this. There is hypocrisy on both sides of the aisles here. I want to be very clear on this. Back in 2005, you're right, the Republicans tried to get rid of the filibuster so they could get through Bush appointments. I want to be clear on this. I was always against that because I believe that this protection of the rights of the minority is so core to what makes our country great and protects the rights of the minority from mob rule, right?
Right.
And so I told Republicans at the time, you're making a mistake here. In fact, I wish it took 75 votes to pass anything out of the Senate. I want to make it more difficult for Congress to pass laws, not easier, because when they pass laws, they stick their hand in your and my wallet.
Yeah. No, look, without a doubt, and the Republicans did not change it back then, and the Democrats went full steam ahead and did change it, invoking the so-called nuclear option. Let's move on. Talking to Stephen Moore, Wall Street.
Let me make one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Because it's so important, Steve. I mean, what this really indicates is that, and we see this in every area of public policy now coming out of Congress and this White House. It's basically they believe that they are on some kind of righteous mission, right? And whatever they have to do to bend the rules, to melt down the rules, to change the rules, that's okay, right? Because they are righteous. And this is a very dangerous kind of mentality that we're seeing in Washington over and over and over again.
Yeah, well, President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela, he thinks he's righteous too, and he just he just granted himself.
I thought he was righteous, right?
Yeah, he just granted himself some new powers in Venezuela, to control prices and profits in the business sector, and of course
right.
it's for the greater good. Which segues into healthcare in the 2 minutes we have left, Steve, and we need 2 days to talk about this. But from an economic standpoint, a business standpoint, it's more screwed up than if he had just left it alone and said, nope, you're going to lose your policy? Too bad, I lied. You lose your policy. Now he's got insurance companies scrambling and people in limbo and doctors don't know what insurance a person has. It's a chaotic disaster.
I can't really say much to that. I mean, you're exactly right. I'm writing a piece right now on this health insurance tax.
Well, you could quote me on that then, Steve.
All right. Well, if you're not angry enough about Obamacare, here's something that has been overlooked, that on January, we all thought, at least the employer mandate has been delayed by 1 year, and therefore small businesses won't be hit until January of 2015. Wrong. There's a big tax on small business health plans that takes effect on January 1st of 2014. Did you know that?
Nope.
And this is it's called the health insurance tax. It's going to be passed on to, and by the way, the union plans are exempt from the tax. Isn't it funny how that happened?
Yep.
And this is a tax that will cost the average small businessman and woman about $150 per employee.
That is insane. That is, look. I can't even believe where we are in this country. Steve, I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
Stephen Moore, executive editorial board member at the Wall Street Journal, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. It is so frightening. I say it all the time. I don't mean to scare you. I mean to educate you, get you to think. I know I'm preaching to the choir if you're listening or watching. But you got to tell your friends, you got to get the word out there about the dire straits that we are in as a nation, economically, when it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to domestic policy on every level, regulatory. I mean, you name it. And what they just did in the Senate, as Steve alluded to, is going to doom us in so many ways for so many decades to come with what happened in the courts. Okay, when we come back, Kendall Coffey and I go spinning the law. And you know where we're doing that, don't you? Right here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Newsmax TV and radio.